Alright, so this morning we got some news of a brand new Dragunity card in Blazing Vortex, meant to support some of the cards released in the structure deck, as well as obviously just the archetype as a whole. And while Blazing Vortex continues to churn out some really interesting archetype supports, I have heard mixed things about this new one, and we're going to take a look at it in just a moment. But before we do, I figured we'd go through some of the other Dragunity cards, including those from the structure deck that we don't have yet here in the TCG, and who knows when we will get it. But I thought maybe it'd be good to take a look at those so the video wasn't 10 seconds long. And we'll wrap up by taking a look at the new one. You guys can decide for yourselves whether or not you think it's good. But before we do jump into the video, I do want to ask you guys to please go ahead and click that subscribe button if you haven't already. Really appreciate all the support. We are trying to get to and maintain over 3,100 by the start of November 1st. If we do get there, we will be doing a giveaway for the month of November. As of the time of this video, we have already smashed that goal, so unless there's some kind of catastrophic fleeting of subscribers in the next 5 days, we will be doing a big giveaway for the month of November. Thank you guys for subscribing as always, and let's jump into the video. Now, the only Dragunity card that isn't from the structure deck that I felt like including on here is Dragunity Knight Ascalon. So this is from Cybernetic Horizon. That was the first set that introduced like some new support. I think there were like 3 or 4 cards that came out there. And this is definitely one of the cards that came out that has been kind of under the radar, hasn't really seen much look. It's relatively cheap. I think it's like less than $1. I'm a huge fan of this card. And basically it's a infinite use, banish a Dragunity from grave, target a monster your opponent controls, banish it, which is powerful in and of itself, but obviously because he doesn't have built-in protection, there are some drawbacks there. But he also has an effect that if he is in your control and destroyed by an opponent's card, you can special summon a Dragunity Synchro from your extra deck with 3,000 or less attack, and it is treated as a Synchro Summon. In other words, any of your Dragunities that would trigger when Synchro Summoned will activate off of this effect, which is really, really good because you can use stuff like Vajrayana and a lot of the other newer Dragunity Synchros that equip themselves with stuff when Synchro Summon. It's just a really, really neat card overall. So if you don't have this, and you want to play the deck, or you're interested in playing the deck whenever we inevitably get the cards, I would recommend going out and grabbing a couple. Because I have some myself, and I think it's a great, great card for the deck to have access to. Now, let's take a look at some of the other cards from the structure decks. We've got Dragunity Knight Aridbehair. I probably botched that so bad, I don't blame you if you just kind of cringed real hard there. This one is a level 10 Synchro. When your opponent activates a monster effect, you can banish a Dragunity monster from your graveyard to negate the activation. If you do, banish that monster. And if this card destroys an opponent's monster in battle, you can banish that monster. So, not bad. Like I said, it kind of keeps the graveyard empty. Your opponent's playing a deck that's relying on that, you can sort of disrupt them at least a little, even though battle, destruction is not super common nowadays. And then lastly, if it's Synchro Summoned and destroyed by an opponent's card, you can destroy all spells, traps your opponent controls. So it's a built-in Harpy's Feather Duster. It's a really neat card. The only problem that Dragunity really faces is that they have such a large extra deck pool, and most of them aren't that great, so you want to pick and choose. Obviously, you want to play some of the dragon cards, you want to play the guard dragons, and you're going to have to sort of figure out a way to make that work. But as a whole, I think it's a neat card. Next one that we've got is Dragunity REMUS. Now, this is, in my opinion, the best Dragunity card that's been released from all the new support. This is basically, can't be used as a Synchro except for a dragon. That's fine. You can still link with it. You can discard it, and if you do, add a Dragon Ravine from your deck to your hand. So 1-for-1 search gets you access to your field spell, which is good outside of the deck, but especially good in it. And then if you control a Dragunity monster, you can special summon this card from your graveyard, but banish it when it leaves the field. For the rest of the turn, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck except dragons. Again, that's fine. It still gives you access to your guard dragons. It gives you access to any of your dragon links, your dragon, Borreload, whatever. Of course, he personally can't be used for Borreload because he needs to be used for a Dragunity monster, but that doesn't mean you can't ladder up and combo with some of your other pieces. So he's really good. And if he does end up getting imported in a set versus the structure deck, because for those of you unaware, we have, it looks like, bypassed the Dragunity structure deck entirely, at least right now, and it looks like we'll be getting ice barriers first. I'm not really sure what the whole specific is there, but that's where they're at with this. So overall, I think he's just going to be a really good card, and I'm definitely optimistic about the deck as a whole because of what he brings to the table. Next one is Armagram. Not a huge fan of this one either. Basically, you banish 2 dragon and or winged beasts from your grave, special summon it from your hand or graveyard. It's not bad. It can recur itself from grave, so that's a neat effect, but banishing from grave isn't the best in a deck where you want to be able to re-equip and use things. You can target a face-up monster on the field, negate its effects. If you do, it loses 1,000 attack for each equip card you control. It's cute. It might allow him to run over some stuff, and it could force a negate of something like a Borreload or an Appaloosa, so it's not the worst thing. But realistically, they're probably going to just stop you from summoning it in the first place. It's never going to hit the board that way. And then if an opponent's monster is destroyed by battle and sent to the grave, you can equip it to this card as an equip spell. He stacks his own effect that way, keeps it out of the grave. It's not a terrible card overall. I'm not enough of an expert on that deck to know whether or not you're going to play this, but it's a neat thing to look at the very least because of its ability to self-revive. And then Dragunity Blazing. I, again, apologize for what I'm doing to these names. It's a level 3. When it's normal summon, you can target a level 4 or lower wind dragon or winged beast in your grave, special summon it, negate its effects. If this card is equipped to a monster, you can special summon this equipped card. So this is insane, too. This has no restrictions in terms of what you can use it for. So if you haven't locked yourself into something yet, you can use this to go into Needle Fiber. You can use this to go into pretty much any link you want, into certain synchros. Him being a level 7 actually works really well with the new one that we're going to look at in a minute here. And generally speaking, that revival as well as that self-specialing effect is just something that really kind of helps forward what the deck is looking to do. Again, this rarity is not a confirmed thing or anything. It's just a translation card, but I assume it'll either be in the structure deck if we get it, or it'll get imported into a set, maybe like a Tomb Chaos type set down the line. Now, Dragunity Purgatory is a counter trap. If your opponent activates a spell or trap while you control a Dragunity Synchro, negate the activation, and if you do, banish it. That's good. Then, if you control a level 10 Dragunity, you can also have one Dragunity monster you control gain attack equal to the number of cards banished face up times 100. So that's an added incentive that doesn't seem to really do all that much, but it doesn't hurt you either. And it's a neat ability for the deck to have a negate. So if you can start with, you know, Ascalon and this, you have 2 negates to play through. Not Ascalon, I'm sorry. The one whose name I pronounce badly, Dreadhair, or whatever the fuck it is. You can negate up to 2 cards, and it does give Dragunity the ability to go first a little bit more consistently and put some pressure on your opponent, which is a really solid option. So that I like. I like this too. And then Dragunity Draft. When this card is activated, you can target a level 4 or lower Dragunity monster in your graveyard, add it to your hand. Never going to complain about recursion. It'll give you back one of your winged beast ones that you can summon and equip, so not bad at all. And then if you're a Dragunity monster with a level of 5 or higher attacks, it is unaffected by opponent's card effects until the end of the damage step. I suppose that's fine. It doesn't really hinder you all that much. It can be an added incentive, and if they, I don't know, you attack into a man-eater bug or something, you'll be able to protect yourself, I guess. Alright, Dragunity Glow is one I've actually seen this one before. I've looked at it quite a bit. Add a level 5 or higher Dragunity monster from your deck to your hand, and then you could banish this card from your grave, target one monster card in your spell and trap zone, equip your Dragunity monster, special summon in a defense position. This is neat because if you destroy a monster with the Synchro and then equip it to it, say your opponent's monster, you can still special that. It doesn't specify that it has to be a Dragunity monster that you're specialing, just that it's equipped to one. And obviously some of the level 5 or higher are not that great, but there's enough that you could at least find ways to utilize this. That extra search power isn't bad, and honestly the one that self-recurs, we might be able to make some use with that too. This is a good card. You know, I don't know for sure where I feel about it numbers-wise in the deck or anything like that, but it definitely looks like, at least on paper, it has some really good potential. Alright, and so last but not least, this is the new one. This is Dragunity Knight Gormfabal. This is announced for Blazing Vortex. No rarity confirmation on that yet. Obviously, it'll be a while before we know anything there. So it's a level 7, 1 Dragunity Tuner and 1 non-tuner monster. When this card is Synchro Summon, you can target a Dragunity Tuner in your graveyard, equip it to this card. So that's good, too. That works with the new one. Basically, you equip it, then you special it. Same with Phalanx, so you can go into a 9 or a 10, I believe. He actually will directly ladder you up into your 10s if you equip him with the new level 3, so that's pretty solid. Quick effect, you can send an equip card you control that is equipped to this card to the grave, target up to 2 cards in your opponent's graveyard, banish them. That's a really neat effect too, actually. The disruption is solid, being able to banish up to 2 is good, and playing against anything like Orcust, Burning Abyss, Phantom Knights, what have you, being able to disrupt and even get rid of stuff like Fogblade is definitely not something that I would complain about having access to. I know some people said it didn't really do a ton for the deck, but I actually think it does, just in the sense that it has a multi-purpose being able to get you into your 10s faster and also act as a form of disruption in the process. So I don't know, I kind of like it. Maybe the jury's still out. I got to play around a little bit more on DevPro. There's so many decks I really want to try out these new cards and let you guys know what I've found, you know, sort of as I'm playing through them. But for the time being, we're just sort of looking at the new stuff and reacting to it. That being said, let me know what you guys think. Do you think this is a new card that pushes Dragunity forward? Do you think it doesn't make much of a difference based on where they were after the structure deck stuff? Or maybe you feel like it's terrible. Drop your comments down below, and I will see you guys next time right here at Love Shack. Bye-bye.